Marvel's Darkest Heroes, Kamen Rider Transformations in American Comics. Like, share and subscribe. Episode 21. May I ask you, Your Excellency, why did you come to us? Jean looked warily at the utopian doping that Yen Tianxin had become. What happened? Yen Tianxin kept his hands in front of his chest and looked down at Jean He from above. Preparing for an experiment in New York, need a lot of experimental data. As a god, I naturally can't do everything myself. So, you, Jean, became an important part of my experiment. You mean, you want me to do things for you? Jean Yu's eyes narrowed slightly, and a smile appeared to be on his face. Those who know him well know that this is a sign of anger. Oh? Don't you agree? Yen Tianxin looked directly at him, slowly stretched out a hand, and pointed at those gunmen with live ammunition. Also, I don't like it, others are pointing weapons at me. This is disrespectful to the gods, and those who disrespect me will die a terrible death. Jean looked dark, and the scepter in his hand lightly tapped the ground. The gunner behind him opened fire instantly. Fierce tongues of fire spat out towards Yen Tianxin, but in the shocked eyes of everyone, the bullets that were shot out, one by one, in front of each other, seemed to be affected by some force and began to twist into a ball. Finally, the bullet turns into a basketball-sized piece of iron. Why? Why do people always have to be afraid of strength after learning a lesson? The utopian doped body incarnated by Yen Tianxin sighed and shook his head gently. He didn't make any movements, he didn't have any expressions. From the perspective of Kim and others, it's as if, just give a gentle look. It's like God is going to condemn sin on earth. In an instant, countless long whips with flames and thunder and lightning appeared in front of Jean He and the others. Everyone looked over in shock, but there was no way to dodge, and they could only watch these long whips fall on their bodies. Like a farmer mercilessly whipping their black slaves, these long whips also mercilessly whipped on the bodies of the people in front of them. A violent scream resounded in the room. One by one, the gunmen were drawn to flesh and blood by these long whips of thunder and fire, and soon lost their sound and fell to the ground. And Jean also fell to the ground miserably, the way he is now. There are only a few rags left in the clothes, the skin is cracked everywhere, and a burst of black smoke comes out of the body from time to time. However, life is not in the air. Even worse are the bullseye and the executioner lying on the hospital bed. The two were also within the envelope of the long whip. The body that was already injured is now even more tragic. The gauze was all smoked apart, smoking everywhere, and hideous wounds covered the body. You successfully influenced Jinha, get 200 special impact factors. You successfully influenced the bullseye, get 100 special impact factors. You successfully influenced the executioner, get 100 special impact factors. There is no way, you mortals. The flesh is too weak. I just leaked a trace of strength and wanted to punish you, so I turned you into this. Ha ha ha. Yen Tianxin looked at Jean Lien. Now, what's your answer? The answer. Jean trembled and got up from the ground, his eyes flashing fiercely. Tear off pieces of clothing that are stuck to flesh and blood. Blood suddenly gushed out. There was no expression of anger on his face now, but instead he hooked the corners of his mouth with an inexplicable smile. Well, there's only one answer for me. Kim didn't say much, just picked up his scepter. This is his hidden self-defense weapon. It is also a scepter that symbolizes his power and status. But now, it doesn't seem to make sense. I will be loyal to you. The cane was broken violently. Ha ha ha. So, humans are really interesting. Yen Tianxin held his abdomen and laughed, almost burst into tears. He slowed down and patted Jean on the shoulder. You are really a person who knows the times. I am very optimistic about you. Yen Tianxin's hand flashed with thunder. A lockbox appeared in hand. Open the lockbox. Items similar to U-disc in various colors, printed with different patterns and letters, appeared in front of Jean He's eyes. My lord, this is? Kim asked suspiciously. They're called Gaia Memory. Can give people great power. Yen Tianxin introduced. Gaia Memory? Jean and his pupils shrank slightly, looking at a golden memory body in front of him. A special connection was born between him and it. It seems that I am not wrong to come here. You can be chosen by it. Yen Tian nodded with satisfaction. I was chosen by it? Jean was slightly stunned. Yes. There is a fit between humans and Gaia memories. The fit does not meet the requirements, and if the memory is forcibly used, the human body will die directly. Therefore, every memory must be given to the right people to use. And the suitability with this memory, is very high. Yen Tianxin handed the memory in front of him to Jean He. Its name is Fear. Episode 22. Fear? Jean took over the fear memory, his eyes full of curiosity. Want to experience its power? Yen Tianxin tempted him. How to experience? Jean was not afraid of Yen Tianxin harming him. If the other party wants to harm him, there is no need for such complicated means. Fear memory, it's advanced memory. Different from the direct and interface insertion of lower memory, higher memory has a special driving method. Yan Tianxin handed the Earth drive to Jin He. Put it on, then press the memory switch and insert the memory into the drive. Thereupon, Jin followed Yan Tianxin's instructions, put the Earth drive on his body, and then pressed the switch of the fear memory. Terror. The moment the switch was pressed, an excited voice sounded in the memory. The memory instantly flew out of Jin He's hand and quickly inserted into the interface of the Earth drive. Next second, a large blue-black fog began to gather around Jin He's body, completely enveloping him. Wait until the fog clears. A huge figure with a black and blue body, a red skirt around the lower body, a black and gold cloak on the back, and a blue monster statue on his head appeared in front of Yan Tianxin. Kim has successfully turned into a fear doctor. You successfully influenced Jinha, get 500 special impact factors. You successfully influenced the bullseye, get 100 special impact factors. You successfully influenced the executioner, get 100 special impact factors. 3 more prompts sounded. In the room, in addition to Yan Tianxin, the dying bullseye and executioner on the hospital bed also saw the scene of Jin transforming into a fear adulterant. What a special feeling. Jin looked at his changed hands, and a sense of excitement and strangeness filled his body. He picked up the pistol on the ground and easily clenched it into a ball, like plasticine, and turned into various shapes in the palm of his hand. Then the body moved, and instantly walked out of the distance of tens of meters, faster than flying. Of course, he can also fly. The body slowly levitated in the air, like something else can be released. Kim moved his mind. A large area of blue-black fluid suddenly appeared around the body, the mire of fear. The quagmire of fear immediately spread throughout the room. Don't, stay away from me. As the quagmire of fear spreads, the bullseye and the executioner were also shrouded in it. The two immediately seemed to see something extremely frightening. His face was frightened and distorted, his face was pale, and his body was shaking involuntarily. To know, the two have been killers for so many years, which can be described as all evil. I don't know what fear is for a long time, but in the quagmire of fear, they faced the most fearful and resistant thing in their hearts. I felt the taste of extreme fear again. Jin looked at the reaction of the two, his eyes moved slightly, and then looked at Yan Tianxin. I saw Yan Tianxin holding his chest with his hands, his body floating in the air, and the mire of fear could not enter a step around his body. He watched Kim with interest and used his new abilities, like watching a monkey play with a new toy. Kim's heart sank, seeing that his moves could not affect Yan Tianxin in any way. The two right-hand bullseye eyes were trapped in fear and could not extricate themselves, with an expression of imminent death. Jin quickly took back the quagmire of fear and lifted the transformation state. Excuse me, sir, my first time using the power of memory, I am a little unskilled. Disturb you. A hint of vigilance and awe flashed in his eyes, and Jin lowered his head, full of apologies. It doesn't matter, the strength of your level, even if it is 10,000 times stronger. It doesn't affect me at all, Yan Tianxin said casually, which made Jin Hexin's heart sink a lot. It turned out that the invincible power he thought was still so weak. In the eyes of the other party, it is estimated that it is like an ant. How does it feel to use memory? Yan Tianxin looked at him with interest. When you use it, you feel. I am God. Jin looked at the fear memory in his hand with feverish eyes. Then, it will be handed over to you for safekeeping. Yan Tianxin patted Jin Ji's shoulder and said seriously, Jin Ji, you must not disappoint me. Jin swears to die for adults to go to the soup. Kim and swore immediately. People are under the roof and have to bow their heads. As a former underworld emperor, Jin does not understand the gold content of this sentence better than anyone. So what do you need me to do, sir? Kim asked. I said before, I'm running an experiment. Yan Tianxin pointed to the other memories in the lockbox. That's what my experiment is about. These Gaia memories are experimental specimens and require a lot of data to improve. The accumulation of data needs to be completed by one experimental body. Your mission is to help these experimental objects find their owners. Understood? Kim nodded. Yan Tianxin's meaning is clear, it is just a special human experiment. It's just that the requirements for experimenters are relatively high. Episode 23. Then, everything is up to you. Yan Tianxin looked at Jin He. The subordinates must complete the task perfectly. Kim and bowed his head gently. When he raised his head again, Yan Tianxin's figure had disappeared. Phew. Seeing Yan Tianxin leave, Jin breathed a sigh of relief. One sat on the couch. Jin looked at the Gaia memory in his hand. His face was cloudy. Thundered. Manhattan, New York in the evening. A huge explosion suddenly sounded in this bustling area. Screams from people, violent gunshots, and the hum of helicopter rotors followed. In the frightened side of the residence, a huge green figure crashed into a building in front of him and landed in the middle of the road. Hundreds of heavily armed soldiers, a dozen armored vehicles, and 6 helicopter gunships surrounded the behemoth. What's that? The inhabitants scattered and pointed at the Hulk, making a shrill sound. Oh my god. It must be a monster made by the army. Damn the army, damn the government. Ignore the curses of the residents. In the distance, a determined man with gray hair and the rank of lieutenant general looked indifferently at the surrounded Hulk. He chased him all the way from San Francisco to New York, and finally trapped him. General? The adjutant looked at him. Fire. General Ross gave the order. Suddenly, the troops who received the order pressed the weapon button. Armored vehicles, helicopters, heavy machine guns, howitzers. Huge firepower, towards the Hulk attack. Hulk, nasty. Hulk's eyes were filled with anger. He has already fled all the way and does not want to run away again. In fact, if it weren't for Dr. Banner's efforts to limit the Hulk hidden inside, these troops would have been wiped out as early as San Francisco. Bear with me, Hulk. Dr. Banner calmed the Hulk. He knew that once he killed all these troops, he really had no way back. On the top floor of Tianjin Intelligence, Yen Tianjin looked at the harassment below from a long distance. He was carrying red wine, wearing pajamas, and crossed Erlang's legs on the sofa. Izzy puts his hands in front of his abdomen in a dignified and elegant posture. President, do you want to make a move? Izzy asked softly. I'll make a move, but not now. Yen Tianjin shook his head. It just so happened that the army had a feud with him before, and it was not impossible for the Hulk to educate them. He could not understand the thinking of these Yankees. Knowing that the Hulk's power is powerful, it is not at all what conventional weapons can deal with. But they didn't work with Dr. Banner to work together. Instead, he chose a hard-hitting path, causing such a big loss. The brain is like a serious illness. Perhaps, this is the arrogance that stems from the bones of the Yankees. In the city, the originally bustling streets have long been messy. Under the aggressive attitude of the other party, Hulk's anger accumulated deeper and deeper, until it could no longer be suppressed, and it all broke out. Hulk was in a rage, his huge body resisting the bullet fire, and his huge palm grabbed cars from the ground and threw them into the sky. An Apache gunship that could not dodge was directly smashed. Shoot. Shoot. Countless missiles and bullets struck the Hulk again. Although it can't hurt the Hulk, it also makes the Hulk painful. So, it became more and more angry. The Hulk completely lost his mind and began mass destruction. All of Manhattan, into his zone of destruction. Both the army and ordinary people were included in his killing targets. A heavy truck, grabbed by it, threw towards the crowd not far away. Run. There is danger. Wife, come over with Anna. Mom. Mom. The sudden disaster made these people who were accustomed to freedom not know what to do for a while. The scene was chaotic, and the crowd fled in all directions. However, many people are still in the shadow of heavy trucks. Nope. Oh my god. Looking at the heavy truck close at hand, many people closed their eyes in despair, waiting for the arrival of death. At the moment when everyone couldn't bear to see the bloody picture happen, a yellow shadow flashed rapidly from a distance. Then he crashed into the heavy truck. The potential energy of the entire truck falling was neutralized, and it suddenly paused in the air. The figure raised his hand, lifted the heavy truck, and gently placed it aside, without a single flower being pressed. This is? The citizens cast their eyes one after another and looked at this great figure. He wore a fancy dress. This is a set of slim all-metal armor made of black base. The chest, arms and legs of the metal armor were covered with a large amount of yellow thickened armor. The armor on his face resembled a locust, and his big scarlet eyes showed a murderous color. Thank you. Locust Man, thank you so much. You saved my wife and daughter. Oh my god, you are such an amazing person who has saved so many citizens. For a time, words of thanks came in waves. Episode 24. This figure. Naturally, it is the Kamen Rider 01 basic form that Yen Tianjin transformed. Although it is a basic form, I don't know why. The actual data of this set of armor is much stronger than the original. For example, the original 01 had an arm strength of only 3 tons and a fist force of only 6 tons. And this set on Yen Tianjin's body has an arm strength of 50 tons and a fist strength of more than 100 tons, more than 10 times stronger than the original. Not only the Kamen Rider armor, but also the power of the doped body is much stronger. Perhaps, Marvel's dimension is higher than Kamen Rider's, and Kamen Rider's power has been automatically upgraded. Back to business. The scene where Yen Tianjin saved so many people immediately caused cheers from the New Yorkers, and the ordinary impact factor fell in his system. Glancing at the rescued citizens, Yen Tianjin rushed to the Hulk not far away. The current Hulk, the strength can only be considered average. After calculation, his set of 01 basic armor can completely crush the opponent. Who is that? General Ross, who was watching the battle from a distance, naturally also found Yen Tianjin's traces. He frowned. Seeing that the other party easily caught a thrown-heavy truck, he knew that this person's strength was definitely not weak. New York, what a hidden dragon and crouching tiger. Could it be the new Shimagia of Tianjin intelligence? A soldier wondered. Nope. It doesn't have a Shimagia module. Not Shimakia. General Ross was quick to repudiate. The Shimagia military also purchased a lot, and he was relatively familiar with Shimakia. Even the military conducted a decomposition study of Shimakia. Except for the Shimakia module, the rest can be copied. Therefore, the most important thing for a Shumahaya is the Shumagia module. Without the Shimakia module, it is not Shumagia. The other party has entered the battle zone. What should I do? The adjutant said suddenly. General Ross looked and saw that the yellow figure actually walked to the center of the battle between the army and the Hulk. Open. General Ross's pupils shrank suddenly, and a chill felt behind his back. He was about to say open fire, but the figure heard it and turned his head. The Scarlet Eye armor looked at him, and a wave of fear rose from the bottom of his heart. It's like the other party gave him a warning. Damn, how could I be afraid of him? General Ross, who reacted, clenched his fists, extremely annoyed. How can I be afraid of an armored man who came out of nowhere? He hammered the desktop in front of him. However, the word fire could no longer be spoken. Seeing Yen Tianxin's transformed Kamen Rider 01 rushing towards the Hulk, the soldiers were not stupid and knew that they were here to help themselves. Some even thought that this was a special unit of the military. They stopped attacking one after another to avoid injuring friendly troops. Then he looked forward to see if the person in front of him could defeat the green monster in front of him. Hey, big man, can you hear me? Give me a face, leave new. Swish. Hulk punched and knocked Yen Tianxin out directly. Onlookers. Soldiers present. General Ross. Are you this? Ahem, make a mistake, come again. Yen Tianxin crawled out of the rubble pile in embarrassment. He pushed the high-leaping locust program sublimation key around his waist. Rising impact. A mechanized but emotional prompt sounded directly. His body began to move continuously at high speed. Like a yellow lightning, in the blink of an eye, he came to the Hulk. The huge kick force kicked the Hulk directly into the sky. Then he jumped up and crossed the height of the Hulk. The foot armor accumulated a huge amount of power, and it was kicked off with one kick. Then, with great leg strength, he began to dive at high speed. The last kick, directly through the Hulk. Boom! Hulk's huge body landed on a ruined building. The ground suddenly cracked like a spider web, and Yen Tianxin's figure gently fell in front of him. After one last glance at Yen Tianxin, Hulk closed his eyes unwillingly and passed out. Then, his body shrunk rapidly to look like Dr. Banner. You successfully influenced the Hulk and obtained 200 special impact factors. You successfully influenced Bruce Banner and got 100 special impact factors. Yen Tianxin's eyes lit up. Hulk and Dr. Banner actually calculate the impact factor separately. This is a treasure boy. It's so cool. You're so handsome, dude. An unsparing praise poured into Yen Tianxin's ears. Common impact factors also accumulate rapidly. Many people hold their mobile phones and take pictures to their heart's content. I photographed the perfect figure of Kamen Rider 01. Thank you for your help. General Ross also rushed over at this time, squeezed out a smile on his face, and stretched out his hand towards Yen Tianxin. Yen Tianxin shook his hand, looked at each other, and then turned to carry Dr. Banner. Hey, wait, he's us. General Ross wanted to say something else. Yen Tianxin jumped up, and in a few jumps, he disappeared in front of him with Dr. Banner. Bastard. General Ross was so angry that he shook his fist into the air. Episode 25. Are you awake? Pale yellow ceiling, soft quilt, cozy temperature, warm sunshine. This is the first thing Dr. Banner felt when he opened his eyes. Beside me, a very nice sound came, like a lark chirping. He tilted his head slightly, and a beautiful blonde appeared in front of him. Banner was slightly moved, but saw the Shimakia module in the blonde's ear. It turned out to be a Shimakia. Banner sat up from the bed and looked around. It looks like a hospital room, but the decor is a bit luxurious. Where is this? Banner asked the blonde Shimakia. This is the 112th floor of the Tianxin Intelligent Building, with the world's most advanced medical cabin and other medical equipment. I am your personal nurse, Lillian, the blonde replied with a smile. Even knowing that she was Shimakia, Banner couldn't help but be moved. In terms of appearance alone, Lillian is much better looking than Betty. How am I in the Tianxin Intelligent Building? Banner frowned slightly. After he became the Hulk, he still knew what had happened. The Hulk seems to have been beaten up by a yellow armored man. Then he hid and returned his body to himself. After that, I don't know. However, why did he go to the Tianxin Intelligent Building for treatment? Dr. Banner, long time no see. At this time, a tall and handsome figure walked into the room. Yen Tian smiled and came to Banner gracefully. Banner is a gifted scientist with 6 doctorates. Yen Tianxin and he met at a scientific research meeting. Mr. Yen, hello. Banner immediately got up awkwardly. No, just sit. Yen Tianxin held him down, and then sat on the sofa by his window. Lillian immediately brought him tea and poured water. Are you wondering how you got to me? Yen Tianxin took a sip of the tea brewed by the top tea that Huagua flew over, and shook his eyebrows comfortably. Yes, yesterday. Banner spared. Before he could finish speaking, he was interrupted by Yen Tianxin. I knocked you out yesterday. Yen Tianxin didn't know when he had put down the teacup, throwing a yellow-colored lump in his hand. Looking at the object in his hand, Banner's pupils shrank. Are you the one? Yan Tianxin nodded. Yesterday you destroyed New York City in a mess. I can only intervene to stop it. If you are brought back, I am afraid that you will fall into the hands of the military, then you will be miserable. Thank you. Banner lowered his head. He has mixed feelings now. Yesterday caused so much damage, many people died because of the destruction of his family, and there was a little shame in his heart. No need to beat yourself. I know, you are also a victim. Yan Tianxin comforted. I don't know, what are your plans next? Banner was just about to say that he wanted to meet his girlfriend Betty, but saw a smile on Yan Tianxin's face. He immediately fought a cold war. I don't know if Tianxin is intelligent, and I can't accept people. Banner asked. Of course. Yan Tianxin smiled extremely brightly. Time flies, and in the blink of an eye, a week has passed. Life in New York hasn't changed either. The only thing that makes people talk about it is the emergence of a new superhero in the city, Locust Man. He has a high-tech battle armor, punishes evil and promotes good, and often fights crime at night. The crime rate in New York as a whole has dropped by more than 1% because of him. Damn Locust Man. Damn it. At night, in a small alley in Hell's Kitchen, a figure staggered in. He curled up by the trash can, looking at the yellow figure flashing in the sky, his eyes showing hatred. He was the boss of a small gang that ran some drug and smuggling business. Unexpectedly, tonight, the damned Locust Man broke into their headquarters, severely injured everyone, and sent them to the police station. Only he, the boss, escaped. When he thought that his more than a year of hard work had disappeared, he couldn't help but feel blood dripping in his heart. Bye. Not a penny left, came to a small hotel and wanted to stay for a short night, but touched his pocket, all the money was in the base, it was already confiscated by the damned police. I can only go and grab it. He cursed, and only had a gun in his hand. However, sometimes having a gun means having money. Coming to a remote place, he hid and waited for people to pass by. Suddenly, a shadow hung over his head. Fark. He immediately shot, but the bullet hit the opponent's body, only provoking a burst of sparks. The other party seems to be wearing extremely thick armor. Little ant, vigilance is very high. Looking at the figure coming out of the darkness, he involuntarily swallowed his saliva, and his eyes showed fear. The figure in front of him is a bird-like monster in the shape of a person. Don't be afraid. Andrew, that's your name, right? I'm here to give you strength. Listening to the other party's voice, Andrew felt that it was unkind. Episode 26. Sorry, I don't need any strength. Andrew refused, turned around and wanted to leave. I don't like people rejecting me very much. The monster in front of him smiled strangely, and grabbed him directly with one hand. The monster's other hand held a special instrument, which was pressed on the back of his hand in the next second. Andrew was in pain, but was restrained by the other party and could not resist. Soon, a black network-like interface appeared on the back of Andrew's hand. The monster let Andrew go. What is this thing? Andrew looked at the back of his hand in panic. Wait a minute, you'll know. The monster smiled triumphantly, and then took out something similar to a USB flash drive. Press the switch. Violence. The USB flash drive sounded. The monster directly aimed the USB flash drive at the interface on the back of Andrew's hand and inserted it. I only felt that my body was swelling for a while, and my strength was also expanding rapidly. Wait for Andrew to come to his senses. The monster in front of you has long been gone. What has become? He was a little apprehensive. Just at this time, members of several small gangs walked into the alley. Put all the money on you. Fark. Several people were about to rob, but they saw such a big monster in front of them, immediately took the gun and pointed it at Andrew. Wait. Before Andrew could finish speaking, the other party had already shot. However, when the bullet hits the body, it does not hurt at all. Monster, run. Several people quickly turned around and ran. Want to run after coming? Andrew snorted coldly and raised his right hand. A chained ball is launched. Several small gang members were instantly hit in the back. Their spine instantly broke, their bodies flew out, and there was no sound in the blink of an eye. Ha ha ha. Really, a mighty force. Andrew was surprised and delighted. I originally thought that the monster was going to harm itself, but I didn't expect to really give it strength. Locust Man, you wait. I'm going to crush your whole family into meat puree. Andrew smiled wildly. Watch Andrew's excited departing figure. On the roof of a nearby building, a bird-shaped monster unmodifies Gaia's memory. A big man wearing a tights and a gun target on his forehead revealed his figure. It's a bullseye. Found another one. Soon, the boss's task will be completed. Bullseye smiled smugly. Yan Tianxin asked Jean and found the suitor of Gaia's memory, and Jean backhanded it to the bullseye and the executioner. The two are very efficient, and more than a dozen Gaia memories have found their owners one after another. An underground casino in Hell's Kitchen. 3 figures broke in. Why is there no one? Daredevil Matt listens in all directions, has a strong sense of hearing and smell, and builds an information network. But in this net, nothing is captured. Probably hidden. Be careful. Frank the Punisher watched his surroundings warily, his guns ready to fire at any moment. Could it be that they were afraid of us and ran away in advance? The last figure was actually Jessica. Because of the guilt of Luke Cage and the joy of helping others, Jessica chose to join the ranks of street heroes. Of course, she could only come out with her adoptive mother on her back. Nope. The newly established gang of the Jumping Bug Gang can swallow up more than a dozen small gangs around it, which must not be underestimated. Matt shook his head, his expression slightly solemn. The Jumping Bug Gang is a new gang that has been around for less than a week. This gang is very strong. It started with less than 10 people, and in 3 days, it swallowed up more than a dozen gangs in several surrounding neighborhoods. Like the autumn breeze sweeping away leaves, each gang was conquered in less than an hour. After judging the strength of the other party, Matt specially enlisted the Punisher and Jessica to help. But will such gangs run away because they are afraid of them? His sixth sense told him that there must be danger in this casino in front of him. Sure enough, it didn't take long for Matt to finish speaking. Click. Click. The doors and windows of the casino are blocked. Even the ventilation ducts are closed. Someone is coming. The next second after the doors and windows closed, Matt said. The other two immediately looked warily in the direction Matt was pointing. I saw a group of figures slowly coming to them. Haha, see what I caught? 3 little mice. Led by the crowd was a skinny man with a Mohican head. You're the boss of the Jumping Bug Gang? Frank the Punisher narrowed his eyes slightly. He could see that this skinny man was not strong at all. But if not strong, how did you lead a few people to become the interlocutors of these blocks in just a few days? Exactly. The skinny man raised his head proudly. He was smug in his heart. Originally, he was just a drug addict everywhere on the streets of New York. But a week ago, he met the nobleman of his life. The nobleman has given him great strength, let him be able to fight all over the world in a week. All of a sudden, I became a human being. He must be the chosen one. He thinks so. Bang. In the next second, the Punisher's bullet shot out instantly. Episode 27. Fark. The Punisher's bullet was very accurate, hitting the Mohican man's heart accurately. However, the Mohican man did not die. He was shot backwards by the bullet, and 2 of his men instantly supported him. Damn it, you dare to sneak up on me. The Mohican man's eyes were full of horror and rejoicing. If he hadn't worn a body armor, he would probably have died under the Punisher's gun. Reacting, he took out from his pocket full of anger what he was proud of, a USB flash drive, something like a USB disk. Is that a Gaia memory? When the 3 Punishers saw the Mohican man's movements, their pupils shrank. The things on the other party's hands, they had seen in the hands of Tianjin Mo. That's clearly a Gaia memory. Hopper. The Mohican man pressed the memory button and thrust it into his belly. The body changes drastically and turns into an ugly humanoid worm-like monster. It's a jumping worm doped. Damn 3 rats, I'm going to kill you. The jumping worm doped roared angrily, jumped high, and pressed towards the 3. Flash. The 3 of them were not easy people to deal with, and immediately dodged. However, the men of the jumping worm doped also started a fire. Ferocious bullets shot towards the 3, covering a lot of dodging space. Damn, he's not afraid of bullets. Seeing the bullet hitting the opponent, it can only shoot a burst of sparks. The Punisher frowned, and thoughts flashed through his mind. What he hates the most is to fight this kind of monster. When firearms are useless and fighting is useless, he is at a complete disadvantage. Daredevil is similar. The short stick is on the jumping worm doped, the other party is fine, but he was shocked to the point that his arm hurts. Only Jessica can compete with jumping worm doped. She is a formal superpower among the 3, and her strength and defense are far beyond ordinary people. Jumping worm doping is considered to be the lowest type in the doped body, and the strength is not strong. In addition, both of them are rookies, and their playing style is disorderly. The 2 actually had contacts for a while. While Jessica and the jumping worm are doping each other, the Punisher and Daredevil immediately start to deal with the rest of the gang. Daredevil's short stick strikes on them, rendering them incapacitated. The Punishers shot mercilessly and drove them to extermination. Daredevil felt the Punisher's movements and frowned. He is a lawyer who has always advocated for criminals to be dealt with by the courts and the police. This has always conflicted with the Punisher's concept of you sin or die. So, in the action against the last few people, Daredevil knocked them out and stopped the Punisher's refill. Unexpectedly, the Punisher didn't say a word and directly threw a grenade over. Daredevil was startled and of course chose to dodge, but several gangsters were blown to pieces. Are you crazy? Matt looked at him angrily. It's you who are crazy. Frank didn't give in and looked straight at him. Matt turned his head angrily, while Frank hugged his chest with disdainful hands. The attention of the 2 immediately turned to the battlefield where Jessica and the jumping worm doped body. It seems that the battlefield is still evenly matched. Damn. And where did you jump from? The jumping worm doped cursed. He knew that the famous Daredevil was eyeing him, so set up an ambush at the headquarters, waiting for the arrival of Daredevil, ready to kill Daredevil Li Wei. Unexpectedly, the other party brought 2 helpers. Moreover, there is also a superpower. The strength he was proud of couldn't get a bargain in front of the other party. Seeing that all his subordinates were solved by the other party, the jumping insects were doped with blood in their hearts. If the money is gone, you can grab it again, but if your subordinates are gone, then it's really gone. Thinking of this, he gritted his teeth and jumped. Jumping to the side and dodging Jessica's fist, the jumping worm doped shouted angrily, "You forced me." He pulled out a phone and dialed a number. "Brothers, I'm being bullied. Come on." The jumping worm doped shouted into the phone in grief. "Shouting helper? Then send you on the road together." Jessica was unimpressed, sneered, and continued to chase the jumping worm-doped body. Unlike Jessica's simple brain, the Punisher and Daredevil are experienced people. The helper called by the monster can't also be a monster, right? The two looked at each other. Even if Daredevil was blind, they both saw the solemn color in each other's eyes. "Jessica, let's withdraw first." Matt immediately informed Jessica. He decided to be on the safe side. This war is self-inflicted and at least cannot drag down the companions. If you want to run, it's impossible. Jessica tried to get out, but the jumping worm-doped turned defensive into an attack and entangled her. A few minutes passed, and Matt's complexion changed instantly. In his powerful perception, there were several astonishing figures that had already arrived at the periphery of this underground casino. Die! A scream came from overhead. Matt and Frank immediately jumped left and right. A fireball struck the position where the two of them had just been, and the steel grid floor is melted directly into a big hole. The faces of the two instantly turned ugly. Episode 28. The ceiling of the reinforced concrete structure cracked instantly. Several figures leapt into the casino. One had a whole body burning with flames, and magma was faintly flowing on his body. A body covered with white and blue armor. Every move, there is a cold feeling like ice. One with a Tyrannosaurus head, but his body is in human form, which looks very terrifying. The rest of them also have their own characteristics. Anyway, each one, not like an individual. So many monsters that use Gaia's memory to transform? The faces of the three changed in unison. A single jumping worm doped, they can't take it. Not to mention so much. Jumping worm, you are really useless. A few little ants called us all over. The magma doping shook his head disdainfully, looking at the embarrassed jumping worm doping. What do you know? I can deal with the other two, but that woman is a superpower. The jumping worm doped body said angrily. Her fists are very hard, don't underestimate it. Is it? Let me go to the meeting. Andrew, who had just turned into a violent adulterant, looked at Jessica with curiosity in his eyes. Ever since he became an adulterant, he had felt his immense power. My favorite thing from now on is to wrestle with others. The average doping is really not his opponent. The violent doping rushed towards Jessica, and the chain ball in his hand was quickly launched. The three dodged immediately. The chain ball directly smashed a big hole in the wall of the underground casino. The three immediately ran out of this hole. You idiot, let them go. The magma doping immediately scolded. Who to scold? The violent adulterated body instantly turned cold. Stop arguing, chase them. The Ice Age doped immediately chased towards the three. The rest followed. The magma doped and violent doped each snorted coldly and chased out. You guys have nowhere to run. Suffer death. The jumping worm doping body took the lead, and a few high jumps blocked in front of the three people. Jessica threw him straight to the side, punching him with 2 punches in the eye. But the Ice Age doping had arrived, spread his hands, and the cold air was spraying towards Jessica. Jessica only felt the cold behind her back and immediately jumped away. She touched her back, cold sweat dripping from her forehead. In less than a second, her back was already frostbitten. The cold temperature of the other party is definitely very low. Watch out for his cold. Jessica reminded the other two. You still care about yourself. The violent adulteration has already been killed. The chain ball shot towards Jessica. Jessica was trying to hide, but the cold of the Ice Age doped body had already sealed her around. This iron ball, she can only block. Jessica alternated her arms in front of her, blocking the attack of the chain ball. Rumble. A huge force instantly hit her. Her body flew upside down like a broken sandbag, smashing through several walls. Poof. Jessica spat out a mouthful of blood, her face blackening. Jessica, Matt and Frank immediately prepared to come to the rescue. However, several doptants such as Tyrannosaurus doptants and magma doptants have already set their sights on them. They can only dodge with experience and reaction, and they have no ability to resist at all, let alone save people. Watching as the violent doped body walked up to Jessica and raised the chain bar, Jessica closed her eyes in despair. All thoughts are in my heart. But this time he was not ashamed of his heart and did not abandon his companions. Die. The violent doped body showed a cruel smile, and the iron chain ball swung down heavily. Rising impact. A mechanized but emotional cue sounded. A yellow lightning bolt rushed quickly. A dazzling kick that kicked the violent dope all over the body, and then successfully saved Jessica. My treasure girl. Yen Tianxin glanced at Jessica's injury and was slightly relieved. This is a stable impact factor provider, so nothing can happen. You successfully influenced the treasure girl Jessica Jones and obtained 200 special impact factors. You see. Yen Tianxin hooked the corners of his mouth. Locust Man. Everyone present recognized the figure in front of them. The metal armor full of technology and futurism is really more fashionable than some cheap tights. So much so that Locust Man has many more fans than any other hero. Several doped bodies instantly became alert. Some of them have heard of the deeds of Locust Man, and some have been directly educated by Locust Man, knowing that the strength of the other party cannot be underestimated. Damn, you finally appeared. Compared with other people's dare not act rashly, violent adulterants stand up angrily. Locust Man ruined his heart, and he doesn't want revenge all the time. I'm curious, when did you guys come out? Yen Tianxin looked at the doped bodies with a proud expression. Locust Man, don't be proud. We, the Alliance of the Chosen One, were built to deal with you. The magma-doped body snorted coldly and pointed at Yen Tianxin, his eyes full of hatred. Yen Tianxin ruined an important deal of him not long ago, causing him to lose millions of dollars. Alliance of the Chosen? Yen Tianxin let out a chuckle and put his hand on his forehead. You fools, do you have self-knowledge? Episode 29. How dare you look down on us? Several doped bodies were angry and itchy teeth. Many of them come from the bottom and have no education. There is almost no energy, and the level of thinking is poor. Seeing that Yen Tianxin looked down on himself and others, he felt that his dignity had been violated. Up! Magma-doped body ordered. Several doped bodies immediately rushed towards Yen Tianxin. Magma-doped takes a step back. Among this group, he is considered to be relatively intelligent. The violent doped body took the lead, and the body turned into a huge sphere and crashed towards Yen Tianxin. The Ice Age doping body is a repeat of the trick, blocking Yen Tianxin's moving space with cold air. The rest of the doped bodies also gave full play to their abilities and headed towards Yen Tianxin to besiege. Be careful, Matt reminded Yen Tianxin not far away. He is sensitive and very sensitive to the situation on the scene. An invisible cultivator is sneaking up on Yen Tianxin from behind. Yen Tianxin had already been prepared. For the control of 01 armor, he has been perfected. 01 armor of various abilities. He uses it like an arm. His eye armor is the product of the combination of different types of image sensors into a compound eye. It can be combined with image processing to extract a variety of information such as thermography and X-ray images. In addition, it can also project altitude observation information from the communication satellite Zaya into its own field of vision. Dealing with such a low-level means of stealth is easy. In the encirclement net of the other side, Yen Tianxin jumped lightly and crossed the jumping insect doping body that jumped from above. The foot armor exerted force, and a foot stomped on the opponent's head, leading him to the higher sky. The jumping insect-doped body screamed in panic, was stepped on by a huge force, and the body quickly fell down. At a height of more than 40 meters, he also fell out. Yen Tianxin jumped into the air, pulled the high-leaping locust program sublimation key at his waist, and launched the high-leap impact skill again. With the help of heavy force potential energy, the body quickly falls, kicks on the Ice Age doped, and directly penetrates it. And by the force of reaction, came to the invisible doped. The strength of the stealth doped body is weaker than that of the jumping worm, and this kick actually directly kicked it alive. The stealth doped returned to a thin human form and fell to the ground without a dead eye. In front of him, a broken memory silently billowed black smoke. Kill the stealth doped. Yen Tianxin immediately flashed back and forth between the remaining doped bodies like a yellow lightning. A continuous kicked several doped bodies to the ground. Haha, are you tickling me? But the defense of the iron ball turned into a violent dope was amazing, and Yen Tianxin kicked him, but his hand hurt. Seeing that Yen Tianxin seemed to have no way to take himself, he had to take an inch forward and quickly crashed towards Yen Tianxin. Interesting. Yen Tianxin shook his hand, and then stretched out his hand. A yellow streamer fell from the sky and landed on his hand. It's a briefcase. Why, are you going to give me money and let you go? The violent adulterated body smiled triumphantly. Ignoring him, Yen Tianxin opened the briefcase and turned it into the shape of a sword. Ignore the shocked expressions of the crowd. Yen Tianxin waved the briefcase king sword and slashed towards the violent doped body. The effect of using weapons is really good. Although the violent adulterated body was thick in skin and flesh, it was also slashed by the briefcase king sword, and it was full of pain. For a time, the scene was glued, and the battle of everyone gradually attracted the attention of the surrounding residents. Many people came to the window, took their mobile phones or DV, and began to take pictures of the scene video. So many monsters. Oh my god, Locust Man is dealing with them alone. Locust Man, come on. Defeat them. No, isn't it Daredevil and the Punisher sitting on the ground over there? Why don't they go up and help? It must be that the monsters are too powerful, they are not opponents. Oh my god, there was a fainting girl on the scene. Locust Man has been protecting her. What a heartwarming. Under Yen Tianxin's beautiful armor, everything else became a supporting role. In the eyes of the audience, only him. Moreover, as the protagonist of this scene, his performance is really good. In the face of so many doped bodies, it is not left behind at all. Although the strength of the other party is not weak, it cooperates very poorly. Under the guidance of Zaya Satellite, every time Yen Tianxin fights, it is actually a one-to-one opportunity. Moreover, the flaws of the other party were caught by him to death, and there was no chance to fight back at all. Gorgeous appearance, plus gorgeous record. The audience did not hesitate to contribute the impact factor. Retreat. The movement is getting louder and louder, plus there is no way to help the other party. The magma doped that had been paddling was the first to retreat. As soon as he gave the order, the entire chosen alliance immediately retreated, leaving behind a stealthy doped corpse lying desolate on the ground. Yen Tianxin glanced at the Punisher and Daredevil, stretched out his hand, and picked up Jessica, who was seriously injured on the ground. The body jumped up, like a yellow lightning, and disappeared from everyone's sight in the blink of an eye. Episode 30. Where did he take Jessica? On the ground, Daredevil Matt panicked. Jessica was the one he called to help, and if something happened, how could he explain it to her mother? Don't worry, it will be fine. Frank the Punisher signaled him not to get excited. He glanced meaningfully at the sky. There, an advanced airship just stopped. It blends well with the clouds. But as the clouds swayed, Frank saw it. And what is printed on the airship is the pattern of Tianxin intelligence. From his experience, it can be naturally deduced. The Locust Man in front of him is likely to jump from the airship. So he paid attention for a while. Really, the briefcase that can be turned into a big sword was also dropped from the airship. In the end, Locust Man held Jessica and secretly rose into the airship not far away. Can have such an advanced technological battle armor, and can casually use the valuable airship of Tianxin intelligence. The identity of this Locust Man is already self-evident. The other side has a state-of-the-art medical team. Jessica has a greater chance of surviving being taken away by him than surviving if she is sent to the hospital. A suburb of New York, a base of S.H.I.E.L.D. Senior agents gather. Nick Fury's expression was serious, as if there was something big to announce. In the Tianxin smart card projector, 3D projection is a scene after scene. There are monsters, heroes, gunfights, beautiful women, and armor. A live blockbuster. But the faces of the agents were solemn, and they clearly knew that the scene in front of them was not a movie. This is the scene that happened last night on Berminco Street in Hell's Kitchen. Nick Fury began to explain as the video played. These two people, I don't think they need to be introduced. Daredevil Matt Murkdo and Frank Castle the Punisher, old friends. All know. As for this girl, Jessica Jones, she also came with that Chinese last time, but it is worth mentioning that she is a superpower. Able to fly, strength more than 10 tons. However, that's it, she is more like a rebellious girl in high school. Our main concern now is these monsters and this recently famous Locust Man. According to the investigation, these monsters appeared in concentration a week ago. They are originally human, but after using a special item, they can become monsters with various abilities. Nick Fury gave several pictures, all of which were photos of the various doped humans as they prepared to transform. Their hands were marked by red circles. Look carefully at their hands. Gaia memory. Many people looked shocked. What these people hold in their hands is a Gaia memory like a U-disc. In the process of dealing with Tianjin MO, they knew the appearance and characteristics of Gaia's memory, so they could recognize it at a glance. That's right, it's Gaia memory. Nick Fury's face was very ugly. However, didn't Tianjin MO say that there are only 3 Gaia memories flowing outside the body? Natasha frowned. He must have lied to us. An agent slammed the table. Not necessarily, perhaps, there is something he doesn't even know happened. Coulson touched his chin. Then, Coulson, I'll send you to meet with Tianjin MO again. Nick Fury looked at Coulson. No problem. Coulson promised to come down. Then, the next focus is on Locust Man. Nick Fury brings up a photo of Yen Tianxin transforming into Kamen Rider 01. Locust Man, who first appeared 20 days ago, knocked out Bruce Banner, who transformed into the Green Giant and disappeared with Bruce Banner. The second appearance was the next day. He knocked out 4 gang members who were shooting and robbing and threw them in front of the police station. In the next 10 days, he stopped more than 80 crimes, arrested at least 200 criminals, and largely maintained the law and order of New York. Last night, he made a sudden move and saved Daredevil, the Punisher, and Jessica among a group of Gaia memory monsters, and with one enemy and many, the upper hand. In the end, he took Jessica away, probably to heal. There are different opinions about his identity, but there is only one with the highest voice. Yen Tianxin. Agent Hill said. That's right. It is the president of Tianxin Intelligence, Yen Tianxin. Nick Fury nodded and brought up many more pictures. This is the picture we took when Locust Man appeared, and every time he came to the criminal like a yellow lightning bolt and subdued him. We replayed his movements in slow motion and finally found that his figure was in the air. Several close-up photos facing the sky came into view. "There's something in the clouds," a sharp-eyed agent said. "That's right, inside, there is an airship." Nick Fury clicked the mouse, and the outline inside the clouds became clearer and clearer. In the end, an airship full of science and technology appeared in front of everyone.